much time would you say you waste in a day? Waiting for the train, washing laundry, getting to and from the gym, cooking dinner, sitting on the you-know-what? Now, none of these are actually a waste of time, but when you've got the bar exam breathing down your neck, it can really feel like every minute not spent studying is a waste. Well, Brainscape has a super smart way to repurpose those in between busy but not using your brain moments to accomplish actual law content review. And it's our hands-free bar prep podcast. Hi, I'm Thea Beckman, a learning coach with Brainscape, the world's smartest study app. And I want to tell you about our hands-free study asset and how you can use it to get more done without actually putting more work on your plate. Because you're already studying hard, right? So this isn't about adding to your to-do list. Rather, it's about putting your knowledge to the test while you do other less mentally taxing things, like potting about the house, driving to appointments, or folding the laundry, for example. And if you like what you hear, hit the thumbs up button, ring that bell, and all that good stuff. So with that said, here's what you need to know about Brainscape's hands-free podcast for bar exam prep and how you can get the most out of it. How does it work? Each episode is a short 4 to 6 minutes long and consists of 10 questions covering core concepts that are likely to appear on the MBE or any of the US state-specific exams. These questions are a supplement to the more comprehensive adaptive flashcard curriculum you'll find in Brainscape's web and mobile app, so definitely check those out if you need help learning and memorizing all that law content efficiently, and who doesn't? Now, the idea is for you to answer each podcast question in your head from your memory rather than just listening to boring lectures where you end up zoning out. This is a little cognitive trick called active recall, and it's one of the most powerful ways to build memory. Here's an example of a question taken from our episode on torts, strict liability.
Question 1. Strict liability is only imposed in which 3 scenarios? Strict liability is imposed in scenarios involving abnormally dangerous activities, wild animals, and defective products.
Pretty cool, right? Well, there are another 48 videos like this one and over 500 questions waiting for you on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more, all designed to test you on the critical knowledge you need to answer the more complex questions on the bar exam. Just hit play and let the playlist sharpen your law content knowledge while you get other non-study related tasks done. So now that you know how our bar prep podcast works, here are our best tips for getting the most out of it, starting with using every opportunity to reinforce the knowledge you spend so much time trying to beat into your head during your study sessions. In the shower, in the gym, making breakfast, driving around, cleaning the house, doing laundry, whenever you're engaged in a task that doesn't require much cognitive work is a perfect opportunity to rip through a podcast episode or two and test your mettle against 10 or more questions. If you do this throughout your day, week, and the months leading up to the bar, you'll memorize the content so much quicker without actually adding any study time to your schedule, because you're just repurposing time you're already using to get other more menial tasks done. My next tip is to be as detailed as you can in your answers. Don't just provide the bare minimum information. Really dig in and make sure you understand not only the answer, but all the applicable laws, what they are and how they work. The more detailed you can be, the more thorough your knowledge of that area of the law. Of course, when it comes to the bar exam, you need to be succinct and to the point with your answers. But Brainscape's podcast is only exercising your knowledge of the fundamental law content. It's not asking you bar-style questions, so just keep that in mind. So what if you can't give a detailed answer to one of our podcast questions? Or what if you don't know the answer at all? This is my next tip. Firstly, don't stress. Feel the burn of the knowledge deficit. This is a good thing. If there's something you don't know, you want it to come up now rather than on the bar exam. Also, not knowing an answer to a question primes the brain to fill in that knowledge gap and hold on to the relevant information. So listen to the answer we provide and then practice saying it yourself in your own words. Better still, go to Brainscape's certified MBE collection and find the actual flashcard that corresponds to the question you're struggling with and bookmark it so that it'll appear at the top of your list of what to revisit later on. Brainscape will then drill you on that concept again and again until you've memorized it. So remember, if you don't know an answer to one of our podcast questions, and there are over 500, so chances are there'll be a few of them, don't feel discouraged. Rather, feel the burn of the knowledge deficit, because it will prime your brain to remember that information a lot more effectively in the future, so long as you come back to it again and again. My final tip for getting the most out of Brainscape's Bar Prep podcast is to rinse and repeat. Finish listening to every episode, start over. The podcast is about creating as many touch points for your law content as possible, and it's through this repetition that information stored in the brain becomes permanent memory. Also, since there's probably at least 1 to 2 hours of every day that can be used this way, you could run through every episode of this podcast several times before the bar exam, and that's really invaluable practice. Just remember that this podcast is intended to test the knowledge you gain through the daily practice of Brainscape's MBE flashcards and your bar review course. It's not a replacement for those study tools. Also, it's really important that you practice actual bar exam style questions throughout your prep, so don't neglect that either. So there's everything you need to know about Brainscape's awesome bar prep podcast, which you can use anytime, anywhere to reinforce your memory of that all-important law content. Our best tenets for getting the most out of it are to use every opportunity to listen to it and practice your answers, to answer each question in as much detail as you can, to chill if you don't know an answer, and instead identify your weaknesses to inform your study going forward, and to listen to every episode again once you've run through them all. For links to our podcast, check out the show notes below, where you'll also find a link to our Law Academy guide on how to study for the bar exam more efficiently. Finally, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel for a steady stream of helpful advice on rising to the challenge of the bar exam.